Good afternoon and welcome. As always, my name is Ben, and it is an honor to be here to teach you about our 15-minute webinar on budgeting for families. As always, I like to start with a little bit of a quote. Never spend your money before you have earned it. The reason I do love this quote is because it is the common thing that a lot of people that live paycheck to paycheck do not like, right? We do not like getting our money and then having to put all of our money to our bills and then having nothing left over. When you have been in that situation and you recover and you are not living paycheck to paycheck, or at least spending your whole income as soon as it comes in, it really is that solidification and that foundation that prevents you from really going back into that. Because once you get out, you do not want to go back. There's nothing more discouraging than see your whole paycheck disappear. So if this is you, don't give up, keep fighting, pushing hard. And today, hopefully, you'll learn a couple extra things. So why should I make a family budget? Well, by identifying your budget busters, or any small amounts you and your family spend day to day without thinking about it, you may be able to reduce unnecessary or wasteful spending. A budget gives you a big picture view of your finances that can help you set clear priorities for spending and saving. Planning and following a budget can teach you and your family how to use money as a tool to achieve the things that are important to each of you. By focusing on priorities, you can say no to unnecessary spending habits, which can break and form new, healthier habits. Essentially, getting you closer to your dreams, which is all most important of all. How much does it cost to raise a family? When we look at national average, we see that this is what we're coming up with. So we got 18% of food, 29% of housing, and 15% in transportation. I will tell you in my 13 years, this is normally the three top categories where people will make mistakes with their budget or have too much of one thing. For example, the food is definitely a good example, right? You don't want to eat out every day. You don't want to eat unhealthy food because it might make longer term health costs that are going to be more expensive than just eating better now. But that's definitely a flex one. The housing, right? What kind of house do you have? Are you living within your means? Do you have too much house? And that same thing goes for transportation. Listen, transportation has to get you from A to B. If you have a specific style that you're trying to achieve, this might be the area, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, that you want to cut out. You need to get to work. You need to get to school. There are things that you need to drive to the store. But be careful on those three top costs because those are generally going to eat up a lot of your income. And they're, your housing and transportation is not super fast and you can't just stop eating. So they are constant. And food for thought is a family will spend approximately $12,980 per child in a middle income two-child parent family. So that's like 26,000 $26,000 that you'll have to spend if you have two kids, and that's expensive. That doesn't even include yourself. So the importance of savings is very much so. So short-term goals like travel, buying holiday gifts, or even home improvements are important. Committing to saving a specific amount of money for goals like these can help improve the quality of your life. Buying a home or car may feel daunting. Having a plan in place is key to meeting these goals. Understanding which types of accounts are best for long-term savings can also be a major support in meeting these goals. Retirement is something that you should be a part of your financial planning throughout your whole life, not just when you're looking down the barrel of retirement. While experts recommend having saved 80% of your current annual income for each year you plan to be retired, there are tons of strategies you can use to accomplish your goals. So do not give up. Do not look at that wall that you cannot climb. Essentially, it'll help you by saving, avoiding the unnecessary debt for emergency expenses. And that's usually the big one. When I see people have savings, they generally have money for retirement. They generally have money for long-term goals and short-term goals. It's when we don't save, and this is, again, and no matter what budget we're trying to work on, saving is key. Even if it's a little bit. It doesn't matter if you're living a little bit lavish because you like certain things, but here's an example. I had a lady come in. She's a single mother, wants to take her kid on a trip, and she couldn't because she never had enough money because she was always spending everything she got. Paying on her credit card, just other things like that. Well, we did a needs and wants analysis of her statement. Just simply pull out two color highlighters, pens, whatever you have, and slice and dice 60 to 90 days worth of your statements and see if there's any room for improvement. You have to be honest with yourself, sometimes brutally honest, but when going through my member's statement, we found that she spends just short of $400 every 60 days at Starbucks or like places, and she can't afford it. So we didn't cut out everything. We just set it back. Maybe gets coffee on Monday and Friday instead of every day of the week. And she was able to save quite a few $100s. So it does help that impact constantly reviewing your expenses to make sure that your disposable income is on key. Because a lot of times the money that we have earned, so the money we earn from our job or the money we have to pay on our set bills like housing, transportation, stuff like that, is pretty constant. And the only place that we're going to get out of where we're at now is, kind of manipulating our disposable income. So it really comes down to managing household debt. If you have any debt, you may feel anxious or overwhelmed. In fact, the majority of Americans have debt. The interest and fees we pay to take out a loan can burden us for years. This is why minimizing debt as much as possible is so important for our financial well-being. If you're struggling with household debt, you have options. Many Americans are in debt for items they really can't afford, like big houses, fancy cars, and daily trips to the coffee shop. If this sounds like you, consider ways to downsize or reduce your expenses. Did you know that lenders are not required to offer you the lowest interest rate? If you have a high interest credit card that you've been paying on for years, it might be worth the call to see if they can reduce your rate. Now, they might not reduce it on the current balance, but if you're still at the rate for future purchases, eventually you'll be getting out of that debt and saving some money there. But be sure to negotiate with your lenders for a lower rate, or at least ask. The worst they're going to tell you is no, and at least you know for sure. If you have multiple debts, consider a consolidation service. You'll be able to use a larger loan to cover your multiple small loans, which generally may reduce your monthly bill or even your interest rate, or both. A lot of times, we've seen the moving piece for people to jump on consolidating and going through the process of it. They'll see a faster pay down, and a lot of times, if you consolidate to a debt consolidation loan, the payments are set and you can't reborrow, and there's actually a period of time when you know it's paid off. It might be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It just really depends on how much debt and what kind of payment you're comfortable with. And then lastly, try to get ahead of potential costly future financial events by planning in advance, right? Plan ahead. You can't see the future, but you can do some things like seasonal costs that come up every year, right? They might still blindside you, but you have to know they're coming. Any maintenance on your cars. For example, start saving for college early and consider getting insurance for anything you might unexpectedly set you back financially. I know sometimes when people think about saving money and budgeting, they don't think about spending more money on insurance, but think about if you have debts right now, are those debts your choices or are they unforeseen circumstances like a medical bill or a car accident where someone else hit you? It wasn't your fault. A lot of times I see people getting hit with large bills that can't even fathomably take over or take care of. It's because they were underinsured. They got a huge medical bill, or they were in an accident. And now they're being sued for personal protection, and so they do run into these situations. So be mindful of that. Make sure your insurances are adequate. I know it doesn't seem like the best spend of money, but it'll prevent large costs from coming back to you. So today's key takeaways: keep track of your monthly income and expenses so you can better evaluate your financial goals. Avoid taking on more debt than you can handle. Talk to your family regularly about finances so that everyone is on the same page. And having a savings is key to helping you reach your long-term financial goals. Plan ahead for large future financial expenses or goals such as college education for your kid or buying a home. Also, by saving for emergencies, you can prepare for the unexpected financial expense that may come your way without having to use credit cards to cover that cost, or even worse, the payday loans. Next steps: set aside time to do your budget. Try to do your budget before or on your paydays so that you can plan where your money will go. Identify the amounts due and due dates for your bills and other expenses as a family. Know how much you have left over after paying your bills. Even if your income and expenses change each month, plan to see where your money is going. Also know where every dollar goes. Essentially giving every dollar a job, and then adjust necessary to meet those financial goals. And then lastly, you have to be patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself up. This is going to be a process that's going to take some time. The reason we do it budgeting for families is because we know professionally, if you have a budget and you don't tell anybody, if you don't stick to that budget, you're only letting yourself down. However, if you do tell somebody, even if it's your young kids or your significant other, it does help you keep on track and sometimes can actually make it surprisingly fun to achieve those goals together, and it will bring you closer as well. Well, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we look forward to you joining us back. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.